I think gradually and organically, if you grow and you have the mindset of growing, you can grow as big as you want. I think everything's possible, right?
How do you build a network, run a profitable business, and make an impact? Oh, and have a personal life at the same time? That's the question, and this podcast is the answer. I'm your host, Chaz Wilson, husband, father of five, author of the book 5+1, president and co-founder of Master Networks Inc., a national networking organization. Look, each week I bring you successful entrepreneurs who will share success strategies of how to effectively build a network, add valuable wisdom to your journey, and help you succeed. Welcome to Connect, Share, and Prosper. All right, everybody, welcome to Connect, Share, Prosper. Today, this is episode 73, and you're going to love today's episode. You're going to want to make sure if you're driving, make sure you go back later and listen to this, okay? Make sure you go back later and listen to this because we're going to talk about playing big and building wealth. And my guest today, Christian Fuentes, he's married, father of two. He lives in California, and he's been part of the real estate industry for the last 22 years. But guys, I want you to listen to this. He is playing big. They have 3 offices with a total of 220 agents. They're on pace to do $1 billion in sales this year. This man has flipped over 300 properties in the last 8 years. His sales team averages 140 sales per year over the last 5 years. And he's a host of Fearless Fix on HGTV. Please welcome Christian Fuentes to Connect, Share, Prosper. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, Jess. Good to be here, man.
Yeah, thank you. Good to have you on the show. I've been anticipating this episode for a while because I think we got some really good stuff to talk about today. And really, guys, you want to listen to this because I think too many people, Christian, myself included at times, we have this conversation. I say this often to myself. I say, I don't know that I'm playing big enough, right? And so how do you go from being a sales agent, and again, this could translate to any business, doesn't have to be real estate, to 3 offices with 220 agents and growing? How did you do it?
You know, it's funny because when we started, of course, my wife is my partner. We never thought we're going to go this big. Even I remember when we were running a small team, thinking of building an actual office itself. It was like, it's not for us, but things happen for a reason. We always believe that. And funny thing is that the only reason we ended up building an office was because someone else came to me asking me to shut down my company if I didn't join them and became part of their office. So at that time, we had a choice. Do we close down our small team office or do we buy a franchise, which was available through Remax? And just to show you how sometimes something bad, something negative could become a positive, we ended up buying a franchise at that point. We thought might as well buy the franchise, run 20, 30 agents. But, I think as you start building something, you realize that you can go bigger, that you got a lot more to give.
Yeah.
Even we used to think 100 agents was like crazy to be able to manage that many people. But I think gradually and organically, if you grow and you have the mindset of growing, you can grow as big as you want. I think everything's possible, right? So our mindset now, we're at 220, but now we're like, we need to get to 300, and now we're going to push 400, 500. And again, it's about just continue to think bigger. You can never stop thinking bigger.
Yeah. So, people say, think big, think big, think big. I talk about it in my second book, Now Make Good. You got to think about playing big. We got some great people, by the way, watching this episode. Ashley, Mike, Kat Sullivan's joined us. She's just here. So, hey, listen, how do you take your mindset to say, it's easy to say, play, get big, think big, play big. How did you put that into execution to go to 220 agents? Like, was there something that you just said, oh, let's get to 100 and then we can go bigger? Or did you kind of say, like, these are the things we had to put in place? How did it happen for you?
It's more about that, making sure you put the things in place. Obviously, as you get to 20, 30, 40, 50, the first thing we did, I think actually when we got to about 40 agents, we realized we needed to get a manager because it was just me and my wife running. I'm still selling real estate. I'm also flipping. So we got to a point where, okay, do we want a life and be able to bring a manager to help us continue to build?
How long did it take you? How long did it take you to get to 40 people?
That took about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Year and a half.
And then you needed leverage. You're like, hey, I can't do all this, right?
Yeah. And we're to a point that, obviously we have kids, we're married, we have a good lifestyle. So, and, it's a lot of work, as you know, managing so many people. So, okay, let's bring the manager. And then at that point, we brought in a manager that was able to help us. Building a team is always good for either growth, but at the same time, being able to have personal time, because at some point, working late hours, doing all this paperwork, at some point it was not even worth it. So, okay, let's build the right team. Brought the manager that helped us go to the next level, which was probably about 80 agents. We doubled with the first manager. Not to say we opened.
Wait. I just want everyone to hear what you just said. This is so important. So you had 40 people. Things were good, 40 agents. You hired a manager and you went to 80.
Yeah.
But see, what about those that are saying, Christian, like, I don't know how to hire and it's scary and can I afford it and all that stuff. But look what it did for you.
Yeah, the thing is you can't grow without people. So you have to, I hear that all the time. Well, it's not for me. I don't like to hire people. Or I tried to manage it, but they quit on me or they took my agents. You hear all these reasons why people should not. But again, you got to go back and realize if you want to continue to grow, then you got to learn how to become a better leader, lead by example, learn how to hire the right people, look for talent, right?
Yes.
You're going to hire one or two or three. We probably have fired a good 3, 4, 5 managers in the years. But guess what? We need that position. So we don't quit and we don't say, well, fine, I'm not going to grow anymore. I'm just going to stay where I'm at. No, we say, you know what? We need that person. I need that manager and I need the right person, the right people on my team to continue to grow my business.
I think what you just said is super important that people, I want to make sure they're hearing this and we could go past it too fast. And so there's a lot of people that say like, I'm nervous to hire. I like to stay small, et cetera. And then they maybe take that leap of faith and they maybe tiptoe into it and they hire that first person and it doesn't work out. Often in my experience, the first time I've hired, it didn't work out, not because of the person I hired, but more because of me. And it's so easy to say, well, see, I knew it. I shouldn't have hired. I shouldn't, but you just said, no, that position's important. I may not have had the right person, but I know that position is important. I'm going to keep at this. I'm going to keep hiring that and looking for that talent.
It's so important. It's a non-negotiable. You have to have the position, in my, let's say my real estate business, I have 3 assistants that help me run my real estate side, my sales. And I have a listing coordinator. I have a transaction coordinator. I have a marketing person. If any of those guys go, I don't say, fine, I'll just do it myself. No, I'm going to replace that person because in order for me to continue to build my 3 businesses that I have, or actually 4 businesses, I need to have those people in place to be able to continue to grow. I think when you start thinking that way, that's when you get stuck. And that's when you grow. You stop growing.
So are you still looking to hire people and get more leverage?
Yeah. I think there's 2 things, either hiring people or we're always looking at our people's performance and we're always grading them. Are they A players? Are they B players? Are they C players? And if they're C players, can we build them to be B and A players? Or if they're not, then we might need to replace them. So you'd be surprised when you hire the right person, an A player, that person could do the job of 3 other people, right? They're that good. So you always have to continue to find great talent. When you do, that person can help you continue to grow your business. But at the same time, if you get complacent or comfortable with a person, that's what happens a lot. You hire somebody, you like them, they become friends, they're not that good, and they're holding you back. But because you like them, you keep them. And you're only as strong as how strong your team is, right? You hear that all the time. As your weakest link, most people just continue to go with the flow, have a mediocre staff. They never grow.
So have you ever found a talented person, but you didn't have a spot open on your team, and did you make room for them?
I have. And to be honest with you, it's one of those things that we go back, me and my wife, and say, okay, look, we have someone that's really good. Can we replace somebody in the team? Is there somebody that's not really playing at the right level? And we have had that before, and we have replaced people. But again, you got to remember, if you want to continue to grow, you have to have good people and always look for talent. So yeah, we replace.
Okay, so I have a question. So when you don't have the right person, who does the firing? Is it you or your wife? Like, who has to make that? Who does that?
My wife, but only because she runs operations.
Oh, I got you.
Of course, I have managers too. So it's not my wife anymore. It's one of our managers that would go through the firing process. But, and I fire people sometimes myself too. So, it's nothing, there's nothing wrong with firing. And if I fire somebody, it's not like, I make them feel bad and,
right, sure.
on them or, like Donald Trump style, none of that. It's more about, listen, this is not working out. We appreciate you. It's been great, but at this point, we're going to a different route, and it's just not working out. So firing is not always a bad thing,
Right. I agree with that.
Before we fire or you fire anybody, I mean, this is after maybe having, 2, 3, 4, 5 conversations to try to help them understand what is it that you need, and for them to be open-minded, to be coachable, to, be a team player. And sometimes they are willing to work with you, and sometimes they don't want to do what they're supposed to do, and you have to move forward, right?
I think you're right, Christian, because if it's not working out for them in the position they're in, you not being truthful and honest with them and letting them go also holds them back from them finding a better opportunity that could be a better fit for them too. So I've often felt like, as hard as it can be to have that conversation at times, I also try to have the perspective that I'm opening the door for them for a better opportunity. And that's truthful. That's not like just, oh, that makes me feel better about it. It's truthful. Like, I've had people who've worked for me and worked with me in the past who've come back and said, I'm in a really great spot where I'm at now. And I'm happy for them. Like, that's the key, right?
Oh yeah.
You've got this successful business that you're growing on pace to do $1 billion in sales as a group. That's the first phase, right? For all of us building a business, that's the best asset we have, is to build that business that creates money. But what do you say to the entrepreneur that's like, okay, I'm making some money, I'm starting to make some money, but how do I build wealth? Like, how do I transition from, because I think this is the problem, is a lot of people can make money, but you've not only made money and have assets in your business, but you've built wealth. And how did you do that? How did you take that step? And what advice would you give to entrepreneurs?
Well, I mean, look, for me, my business is real estate. So about 8 years ago, I decided to go into flipping. And before I started flipping, I actually worked with multiple investors through the years. And one thing I realized was, one, that I will make my little $4,000 or $5,000 commission, right, selling them these houses, and then they would go fix them up. I will put it back on the market, sell it for them, and they'll make $50,000, $60,000. And I would think to myself, why are they making $60,000? I'm only making $4,000. There's something wrong here. I found a deal. I'm the real estate agent. I'm out there, talking to people. And this guy's, because they have the money, I'm letting them make more money, and I'm not getting a piece of the pie. So eventually something clicked. Now, I think one of also the misconceptions that I had before is that I thought I need to have a lot of money in order to invest into real estate. And I think the opposite. I think if anybody wants to get into the real estate flipping business, you just need to figure out a way how to find deals. They're out there, right? Become a great hunter. If you find a deal, I can guarantee you can always find somebody with money. There's someone out there always with money that if you bring me a deal today and say, Christian, I got a deal here that could make $100,000. These are the numbers. And if you put all the money, split it with me, and there could be different splits, I'll do it all day, right? I do that with my agents all the time. So it's about starting to look for the deal. So when I got into the flip business back 8 years ago, I didn't have a lot of money. I found a partner. I found a big investor, Chinese guy that had a lot of money. And I said, hey, man, I can find deals. I just need your money, and then let's split it. And for the first, couple of years, I was splitting deals at 30%, right? I will make 30%, all the work, and I will get the commission. And I did that for a couple of years, and then I got more investors. I found people with more money. Suddenly I was running with about $10 million plus and making a small percentage. But at the same time, I was building my money, my capital. Then I started doing my own flips. When I was out of money, I would continue to buy with investors' money, just continue to grow. And
I think that's the key. I mean, when you find a deal, there's always somebody that's looking for a deal that has the funds and the money. And it doesn't matter if it's real estate or business or anything you're looking for. Go find the deal. You'll find people who have the funds that can make it happen. Always. The hardest part's finding the deal. And so you decided, hey, I've got some money. I'm making some money in my business, but I'm going to go invest it in some real estate, do some flips, and so forth. And so do you think that that's a good idea that worked for you as a real estate agent because you knew the game, but do you think that works for most investors, entrepreneurs? Should they be looking at real estate as a vehicle?
I think they should, no matter what. I think real estate is one of the safest, best bets when it comes to investing. Now, flipping is, there's two different investing, right? You go flip, and of course, flipping is a full-time job, finding a home, remodeling it, contractors, dealing with contractors, design, put it on the market. Hopefully you make some profit. I mean, there's a lot there, right? That most people are able to do. If you're not in the real estate business, I would say partner with a real estate agent that knows the flip business. You know, that's what I did. I mean, I was making my clients were making about 30 to 40% return on the money yearly by them investing on me, right? So I did that for many years. I'm getting about 50, 60% return on my money flipping every year. That's about the number.
Yes.
So, you know, partner with somebody. There's always someone there. Or buy rentals, you know. You can go out, buy some rentals, buy some units. So what I did when we got into the flip business, as I started making money, I would take half of the money every year and buy rentals. And we started buying units, started buying, you know, fourplexes, triplexes. I bought a 10plex. So we're at 32 doors now. We're watching the market. If I find a deal, I'll buy it. If it's not a deal, I'm not looking to buy it right now. I'm always looking for the right you know, price to buy. But again, those are rentals that we're buying for our retirement. You know?
It's awesome. So you have 32. I loved how you said it. You have 32 doors. So you have 32 units with doors, 32. And so to do the real estate game, and I say game because it's an investment game. I think all business is a game. I think it's fun to play. And if you're not having fun, you're not playing the right game. That's for sure. So when you play this game in real estate and you're building these rental businesses, how important is your network, the thing you're building, the people surrounding you in this investment world of real estate?
You know, it's huge because, you know, the network, the people around you are the people who are going to help you find those deals, are the ones that are going to help you finance some of those properties. I think it's important for you to, if you want to get into the investment side, definitely get around some other investors, whether they can also coach you, guide you through the process. I mean, you're going to go through some issues, problems. I mean, then you got to deal with taxes and you name it, right? Liability issues, you know. So I think by you getting yourself involved with a good network of investors, I think it's a huge deal. And that's one of the ways I was able also to learn quickly, because I had really good mentors that I met at different places where, you know, I used to go to the auctions. I don't know if you heard of auctions, but I used to go to auctions at the courthouses. That's how I started buying real estate.
Love it.
I would find the big whales, investors, and I would try to get as much information as I could from them, take them to lunch, ask them 2-3 questions. Some of them were really cool. Some of them didn't want to talk to you. But again, you just have to learn and get yourself with the right people.
Guys, we're listening to Christian Fuentes on Connect, Share, Prosper, episode 73. If you've got a question for Christian, go ahead and put that in the Facebook if you're listening to it live. Remember, you can always listen to the replay. We post it the next day after this. So as we look for some questions that will be coming in, I want to ask you, like, okay, so maybe I'm not in real estate myself. I mean, we do have a lot of people listening to this that are in real estate, but what if I'm not? This is a tough question, I think. How do I know if the real estate agent I'm talking with knows their stuff when it comes to investing or not? Because I just firmly believe that they all don't. So how do I find the ones that do?
I can tell you, I would say probably 80% of agents, maybe more, don't really know about flipping or buying units. They're more in the residential side. So again, you got to find the experts. You know, you got to ask questions. You know, have you flipped houses before? Have you worked with investors before? No, I haven't. Well, you probably don't want to work with that guy, right? If you are looking for units, if you're looking for the right deals, again, have they ever worked with those type of deals? Not every agent does commercial. You know, when you start buying, you know, 5 units plus, 10 units, 20 units, now you're looking more in the commercial side of it. So you definitely have to have an agent that knows the business. It's like an interview, right? It's a partner. You're looking for a partner to basically go and help you with your money. When I started working with some of these big investors, I mean, at one point I was approached by a big whale. I mean, a guy that had over $200 million. And I remember they sat me down and they went through every single one of my flips. And they went, "Oh my God, these are all your flips?" I said, "Yes." They're like, "How are you getting these returns?" I said, "Well, because I'm really good finding these." They're like, "Is this 100?" You know, they were like quizzing me on it, making sure they went to go see my projects. They went to go see my rehabs. They checked out my contractors. I mean, they did a lot of background checks on me to make sure I was doing everything the way I said I was. They realized I was the real deal. And from there, they said, "Here's the money.
Wow.
As many as you can." So again, it's an interview process, right? If you're an agent and you never worked with investors like that, you know, let's say people join my company, agents join my company, they never flipped a house before, I teach them how to flip houses.
There you go.
go out and find the deals. Eventually they do 2, 3, 4. Eventually from there, they can get their own investors. They can use their own money. And again, they can build something just like I did many years ago.
And by the way, if you're listening to this and you're in real estate, you should be in this game. You should be doing this. I mean, you have access to so many things. So let's transition this. So, because you talked about how to make money, you grew, you play big, you leveraged. I think that's the key, right? These are the notes I've been taking here, which I love. So play big, guys. Play bigger. Leverage yourself. You're never going to get to the level of success that you desire by doing it by yourself. You can't, right? So you have to leverage yourself and get people who are better at the things that you're not good at, or the things that aren't income producing activities. And then the second thing you said is you then transition that money into wealth by investing it in real estate, whether it be flips or rentals. But here's the other thing which I'm really impressed with, it is really hard to find on paper, right? It's not like I can go through here. I mean, one of the things I didn't say in this is that you're part of the national board of the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals.
Yes.
And the one thing I really admire about you, Christian, amongst many, is how connected you are across the country. Like, you have built a fantastic network. And so help our people understand, what does it mean to you? How important is your network? And number two, how did you build your network?
Well, again, even to use NARAP as an example, I got involved with NARAP about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. Again,
and that's the acronym for the Hispanic Real Estate Professionals.
Exactly. Right? Yes. And it's a huge network. I mean, we have over 40,000 members nationwide. Right. I realized when I got involved that there was a lot of talent there. I mean, I remember, I think I did like 250 transactions one year. I made the top 10 Latino realtors in the nation.
Wow. Good for you.
And at 250, I was only number 10. Okay. So then I was like, oh my God, all these are Latinos. They're like me and they're kicking ass. So one of my goals was to meet as many as those guys I could, again, because I want to continue to network, to be around those kind of people. And now being there for 6 years, now I'm part of the national board. So I have access to everything NARAP does in a national level. I'm meeting people everywhere. We have huge conventions. By the way, we have one coming up, Latitude in San Diego. We're going to have close to 7,000 people there.
Wow.
Amazing speakers, that are going to be part of the event. So again, I'm there because I want to get to know more people. I want to pick their brains. They're picking my brains. We're helping each other, right? We can give each other referrals. I mean, our conversations with some of these top guys, we're talking again about investing, building wealth. We're talking about, building big companies. And those are the conversations you got to continue to have. How do you grow more? Well, hang around with people that are doing better than you.
So you're not intimidated in any way by these people that are doing more. You're like intentionally going out to try to spend time with them.
I want to be around those guys. I want to be around bigger players than me. That's how I can, look at what I have now and say, wow, I'm doing this much and that guy's doing 3 times the amount of business that I am. How can I get there? Right. And that's a constant conversation. Me and my wife, because my wife is just like me. I mean, if anything, she's probably a little more of a go-getter, which is like, oh my God, why is that guy doing that? Why do they have 1,000 agents? We got to get there. Right. Like, we have that mindset. There's constant conversations about that. So for us, networking NARAP is being, a big one. We're also very involved locally, in a chapter local. So we're always meeting people. And again, I'm in the real estate business. I own a company. So for me to go to those events, meet more people, also means recruiting more people. Because again, for a business to grow is about connections, right? Continue to connect, meet more people. And then obviously if there's a fit, they can work with us, right?
Yeah, build those relationships. Absolutely. Guys, if you have questions for Christian, we're getting some great comments. By the way, people are saying, hey, listen, play big, hang around and associate with others doing better than you. That's from Mike Forrest in Missouri. And Gina here in Texas said, play big. Love that. So let me ask you this question. So here you are, you've got this, this goal on your wife said 1,000, by the way. So that sounds like you vocalized that's the next goal, right? 1,000 agents, right? So what stands in your way for you getting to 1,000 agents? Like, what is the big obstacle you have to remove to get to 1,000 agents? Because I bet likely it's going to be similar for a lot of other businesses, but what's the big goal for you that you've got to, or the big thing you got to move out of the way?
Well, look, for us, it's growing, knowing that every year we're growing, It's knowing that there's a goal. Are we going to get 1,000 in a year? No, I can tell you this. If even I got to 1,000 in a year, my life will probably be rolling, hectic, and I don't care how much money that would make me. Yes. I'm going to put my family aside, right? So we know our priorities. Our goal is to growth gradually because we want to have a solid
Yes.
foundation. So I think that happens sometimes. People try to grow too fast, and they end up half-assing everything.
Yes.
Where we're just consistently growing, building the right team to be able to manage that. So we're at 220 right now. End of the year will be probably around 270, 280, and then next year we'll hit over 300. Next year we're over 400. So as long as every year we're growing 50 to 100 agents, we're on track.
I
So
agree.
I think it's about being patient, but at the same time, just building the right team, the right foundation. Because I'll tell you this, I've seen this a lot. People grow too fast. Their agents are not happy. Their back operation sucks. They're not having the customer service. Agents are not getting their checks paid.
Yep.
A lot of issues going on. You don't have the right staff. Guess what? You can bring 200 agents, but they're all going to go if they're not happy and you're not able to manage them and take care of them, right?
Yes. Yes.
So it's about growing consistently, but having the right staff.
Yeah, I love it. And growth solves issues. Like you got to keep growing. I think people often say that they'd rather, grow slow. And I get that, but you're saying grow steady and always keep moving forward. And I love that. So let me also tell you, you got a question that came in. Wayne asked a great question. I love this. So I'm going to address this question with you. It's not real estate related, but he said, did you ever have any trust issues when hiring your first person? If so, how did you get over them? Like, I think, and Wayne, maybe you can comment further, but probably like, how do you trust, number one, trust them since your first person, but how do you trust yourself as well to give things over to that person that you've been doing yourself for so long?
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, I think most people don't have trust, and most of the people that don't have trust is because they already went through some issues or problems with previous employees, right? Where you bring them in, you thought it was going to be perfect fit, and next thing you know, they're not doing their job or they're stealing from you, whatever, right? But it's like anything, that's going to happen. And I always tell people, this is going to happen over and over again. It's like dating, right? You're dating a girl, doesn't work out, they break up with you. Does that mean you're not going to trust the next girl? You're never going to find the right person, the right wife. I think finding the right team, the right employees is the same thing. Expect that, yes, you might have some issues with trust. But again, we're the type now, because we were like that too. Like maybe we shouldn't trust people that much, but imagine you bring a new employee and then they can feel that you don't trust them. That's not going to go anywhere.
Yes.
So as hard as it is, you have to turn that around and basically bring in your next team member, trust them 100%, give them everything you can, give it all you got, and then know that if it doesn't work out, fine, fire, move on, find somebody else. But if it works out, great, you found the right person, your business is going to go to the roof.
Yeah, I love that. I've had new people start, and I always say to them, I trust you until you give me a reason not to. Like, why wouldn't I trust you? I remember I had somebody that started and they needed some equipment. I gave them the credit card right away. Like, I don't know, day 3 or something. They're like, you're giving me your credit card. I'm like, should I not? Like, are you questioning it or what? Like, I'll trust you until you give me a reason not to. So, I think that the reality is if you don't trust them, it puts that barrier up right away, but give all that trust there. And listen, I always say to some of my partners, like, I don't know if I should trust this person and bring them on. I'm like, look, I trust you. Why can't you trust them? You got to have trust in that relationship or you just become a micromanager of process. Now, I think having a process and then hiring the person to the process makes it easier. But if you just go hire people and you don't have a process, that's when it gets tough. My first person I hired, I don't know what it was like for you, but the first person I hired she was great. I was a disaster because I didn't have a process, right? And my new job became trying to think of something for her to do every day because she was so talented. She'd get it done by 10. And I had to spend the rest of the day going, oh, shoot, what is she going to do the rest of the day, right? So, guys, you got to have your process in place for sure. Wayne says, maybe trust wasn't the right word, but I don't feel comfortable giving up responsibilities. I think that was kind of what we were saying. Like, how do you give up the responsibility?
You know what? That's a big one because I think a lot of us, we are kind of control freaks, right? Or maybe perfectionists. And we believe that we're not going to have anybody do it better than you. And again, it's about letting go. You have to let go. Now, of course, if you train the person correctly, exactly how you want things done, you got to watch them, supervise them once or twice. Hopefully they do it correctly and they're on their own and you have to let go. But if you're the type of person that you're always going, I have to manage everything. I have to micromanage. I have to make sure everything's perfect, and not giving them the room for them to do it. And they're going to make mistakes, but understand
Yes.
that mistakes will happen. Let it be. They learn from those mistakes, and obviously they're going to get better from there. Now, if you get somebody that continues to make mistake after mistake after mistake that you cannot trust, of course, that person needs to be fired. Find somebody new that is going to be responsible.
I think two things I want to add to that, because I love what you just said, but I think when we hire people, and this is a big part of this, and I know so many people listening to this, I can see some of the people that are on here, like it's the next step. They need to hire to grow. They can keep working harder and harder and harder, but if they don't hire and leverage, they're not going to grow. And when you hire somebody, I think what happens, and this was my first mistake, is you have to educate them what their job is. You then have to give them the tools by equipping them, and then you empower them. But too often we go, you're hired, Christian, and I'm going to empower you to go do the job. Number one, I haven't educated you. And number two, I haven't equipped you with the tools to go actually set you up for success. And then we have to fire you because I said, well, you haven't done a good job. The reality is it was me as the employer. And so often we have to look at ourselves, right?
Oh, yeah.
The job we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? One thing also, we only hire with experience because I think that's another problem. Let's just take the real estate, selling, bringing somebody into your real estate team that has no experience at all, and you expect them to go out now and deal with listing coordinating or dealing with, MLS and, inputting listings. They never had that experience. So to train them through the whole process is going to be time consuming. They might not get it right away versus I'd rather find somebody that has already 5 to 10 years experience, knows how to do contracts, MLS, all the back office stuff. And then of course, is it going to be more expensive? Yes. So experience will be more expensive, but I can tell you, you bring somebody with experience, they're going to come in, see the job, probably take over it, give you some systems in place that they're going to, already have in mind. And your whole operations will be so much smoother because they already have that experience.
And to that experience, I feel like for me, while it feels like it's more expensive in the long run, it's typically not. Sometimes that person who has no experience can be more expensive because of the time, resources, and everything I have to put into that, and the mistakes that are made along the way, where it's better investment in somebody to pay them more for that experience that they have coming in.
100%.
Yeah. Guys, we were listening to Christian Fuentes. It's been awesome. I want to ask you a question, okay? So in business, number one, what's been the biggest challenge for you in business overall? The biggest challenge that you've had in business so far? What's your biggest challenge?
Wow, biggest challenge. You know what? I think it's been finding the right team. I think it's always a challenge finding the right people, and then making sure that they're doing the right job, so that you continue to grow. And we just did last year we did a Darren Hardy. If you heard Darren Hardy,
Yes. Oh yeah.
It's called a High Performance Forum.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 3 days with Darren Hardy, all business owners. 100 of us were there, and pretty much I would say 80% of that education we went through, it was about finding the right people.
Yes.
Finding the right team. And these are stats he shared, but 95% of businesses don't grow. Number one reason is because they don't have the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't make it, right? So I think that's always been the challenge, finding the right person. Sometimes we kept people too long.
Yes.
Realized too late, oh my God, they're not the right person, or we're paying too much, they were not doing the right job, we didn't really grow, we actually fell behind, so we have to start over again. So I think that's been a big one for us to really understand finding people. So
couldn't agree more with that answer. And so finding people, it's been a challenge at times for me too. I also used to hang my hat on the fact that I had people who stuck with me for long periods of time, and I hadn't had much of any turnover. And I remember talking to another coach who said, Chaz, what are you talking about? You've had no turnover? I'm like, yeah, man, no turnover. He's like, you got to blow some people out. Like you have gotten too comfortable. Like you said at the beginning, too close, too friendly, too comfortable. I guarantee you're not pushing them. They're not pushing you. And if you open the spot for more people to come in and push, and it was like, he was 100% accurate. I had people who definitely were not doing the job, weren't performing. And I was just holding on to old times. And I realized that saying, oh, I haven't had any turnover is not a badge of honor. It just meant I was pushing off the inevitable of making the replacements. So couldn't agree with that. Okay, now let's switch to this. This will be my final question for you. Your biggest brag moment. Like often in business, we don't brag. I ask everybody this question. It was Tim Story asked me this when I was on his podcast. What's your biggest brag moment? Like, here is the thing. Like I can say in business, this is the biggest brag. This is what we achieved, et cetera.
I think the bragging for me, and I'm not much of a bragger. I mean,
I get it.
Family for me is always number one, and being there for my kids, all kinds of stuff. But like bragging, every year we do a big event. And we decided to do this 4 years ago. One day we're like, why don't we bring the best speakers in the world to our local community? So, I mean, if I have to brag, that will be probably some of the speakers that we brought in. I mean, the first event we had, and we call it Success is Contagious event, we brought in Grant Cardone.
Wow.
Freaking amazing, right? He came and he did a 90-minute keynote, and I was there on stage with Grant Cardone and got time to spend with him. So that was awesome. Next year, we brought in Darren Hardy. So that was huge too. And of course, I got to spend time with him and, learn about my business, how it can continue to grow. And then this year we had MI Led. So
wow.
I had MI Led. I was hanging around with MI Led on stage, backstage.
Christian, those are three powerful names, man.
Yeah. So every year we go bigger. Tim Story was a speaker every single one of those events.
That's great.
So I think for us, these are huge events. I mean, we get about 700, 800 people there. We're helping our agents. We're helping our real estate community. We're helping the business community.
Good for you.
And it's all about self-development and thinking bigger. So I think we're very, that's one of our brags. I think we could say that we do that every year. And next year is going to be bigger. Okay,
so I have to ask this. This question just came in. I was about to wrap, but this question just came in. I think it's a good one, so I'm going to send it to you, right? Here it is. When is your first book coming? Will be a great reading, your experiences, bad and good. So when's your first book coming?
You know what? I don't have a book yet. I'm not planning to write a book. I should, but not yet. I'm probably going to put some notes together and find the right publisher, and let's see. Yeah.
Well, Juan Carlos.
I have a lot of good stories to share too, because, I come from 10 years ago being broke. Me and my wife, actually 12 years ago, being broke completely, building our business. But, I was a wild 20-year-old, doing a lot of self-destructing, and I was involved with a lot of stuff. And I was able to clean up my life. And of course, now we built something beautiful, my family and my business. So there's a whole story behind there.
So we need a part 2. Let's schedule Christian for part 2, and we'll leave that as the cliffhanger to come back to part 2, because we want to hear about your crazy 20s and all the stuff that you did, and then the rebuild, right? And how you come back. And I find that as a common theme. I mean, I have a similar story that way too, of losing a lot and then rebuilding. I don't know that it's necessary, but I find it to be a common theme for a lot of successful entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, and I think we all have a story, and people sometimes think that we had it all perfect. And to be honest with you, I was a mess. And I think sometimes, if you're a 25-year-old right now and you don't know what the hell you're doing and you're lost, I think sometimes you hear like, oh shit, Christian at 25 was doing that, and he was broke. Shoot, I guess I'm doing pretty good, right?
Yeah, right.
But the question is, what did I do to change?
Yes.
And to start building myself, my business. And, there's always 2 or 3 things you always hear from different people that happen to them that was a shift and that created a change. And obviously you're here now. So I think it's a good story to always put out your past.
I want to say one thing to you for being on the show. Number 1, thank you. And number 2, what's interesting in what I see in you is that first of all, your agents, they should listen to this podcast, and then they should know this. And this is from someone who networks across the country. I have networks across the country and work with hundreds and hundreds of people. Man, they're blessed to have you as a leader. I really mean that. Like, you're very humble and very, you've accomplished some great things. And that's why I know it was hard for you to answer that brag question. It's always hard for people. When Tim asked me that question, I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of like, what do I say? Right. Because we don't want to brag a lot, but like, let me just tell you, I think you are a very successful person because you've put your agents first. You've put the people that are around you that are building that empire. You've put them first, and you've been a great servant leader. So just congrats to you on everything you're doing. I really think you're doing amazing things. And that's why I wanted you on the show, so the people listening could see your heart and see what you're doing.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
How do our people find you, follow you, and connect with you?
Go to my Instagram. Best thing, just go there. It's a Christian Fuentes RTP. Follow me on Instagram, and I have a lot of content there. I have a lot of great stuff to share with agents, flippers. I have a lot of great videos out there too. You guys can check them out.
Yeah. Listen, Master Networks family, you should follow this man. He's not a guy that's flashing a bunch of stuff. He's a family man. He puts things in perspective, puts them in the right perspective. And that's why you should follow this guy and stay connected with him. Christian, thank you again. Hang tight with me here for just a second, but thank you for being part of Connect, Share, Prosper. Really appreciate you guys. Remember, each Monday, noon Central, I bring successful entrepreneurs, and we've been blessed to have just a slew in a row here of just very, very successful entrepreneurs that are bringing really amazing messages. This is the time. Guys, right now, the economy is good. Overall, the economy is good. And I don't know that that's going to last forever. In fact, I know it won't. I don't know when that'll change. But what I do know is that is not the time to go build your network. Right now is the time to go build your network. Connect with great people like Christian and around you in your community. And if you want to learn more, go connect with us at masternetworks.com to learn more about a network in your area. Connect with us at masternetworks.com. Again, always connect, share, prosper, be well. Take care.